digger loader, backhoe loader, or 180-degree excavator are different names for the same type of machine. These powerful machines are workhorses of the construction industry, and like any workhorse, they need looking after. Before you even start a digger loader, it's important to have a really good look all the way around the machine to make sure that it's in good condition. It doesn't matter how old or how new the machine is, this walk-round inspection should always be carried out. Check the hydraulic hoses and couplings for any signs of leaks. Make sure that the tyres are undamaged and the wheel nuts are secure. Check that all the pivot pins are correctly positioned and secured. The lights should be clean and in good condition, and the radiator grille should be clear to prevent overheating. Check that the bucket and bucket teeth are secure and undamaged. Although it should be, it's not unusual to find something left against the machine or even underneath it. So during the walk-round inspection, move anything that's in the way. Keep the mounting rails clean and clear of soil and rubble, so that the king post can be positioned smoothly and accurately. While the machine is still cold and on level ground, there are other checks which must be carried out. These include the coolant level and the engine oil and transmission oil levels. You should find a complete list of daily maintenance and checks in the operator's handbook, which tells you almost everything you need to know about the machine. Keep the handbook in the cab. An inspection record book should also be kept in the cab. The machine must be thoroughly inspected once a week and the findings recorded in the record book. Daily maintenance includes greasing. Most grease points are easily reached while the machine is in the safe, parked position. But before the hydraulic fluid level can be checked accurately, the machine will need to be repositioned. This external indicator makes it easy to check that the hydraulic fluid level is correct. The liquid should be clear. If it looks cloudy, don't run the machine. Cloudiness means there's water or air in the system which could seriously damage the hydraulic pump. Climb into the machine facing it, using the handrails and footholds provided. Once the engine is running, the warning lights should go out and the alarm should stop. If they stay on, stop the engine. You can use the time while the engine warms up to check that the cab is clear of obstructions, the seat is properly adjusted, and the windows and mirrors are clean and correctly positioned. Remember to fasten your seat belt. When the machine has warmed up, check that all the controls are operating correctly. Then put the machine into a safe travelling position. The front shovel should be between 300 and 400 millimeters off the ground and crowded right back. The stabilizers must be fully raised. The back actor can be in one of two positions, either central or folded in tightly to the machine. In both cases, the bucket should be in this position with all locking devices engaged. That includes the locking pin. Remember to stop the engine before you add or remove the locking pin. Look round carefully before moving off Then look where you're going and drive at a speed that's safe for the conditions. Remember that on public roads there are additional requirements, like using a tooth guard on the bucket and a flashing beacon on the can. Independent brake pedals should be locked together and two-wheel drive selected. Digger loaders are commonly fitted with clam shovels, like this one. These attachments are also known as 4-in-1 buckets, because they have 4 main operating positions which can be used in various ways. This setting is called the standard bucket position, because it looks the same as the standard bucket attachment, which does not have a hinged clam section. The other 3 main positions are the scraper position, the dozer position, and the clamshell position. Other machines have an indicator, sometimes called a quadrant, which shows the selected bucket position. It doesn't show the amount the clamshell is open or the height of the bucket from the ground. In this case, the letters stand for bucket, as in standard bucket, scraper, dozer, and clamshell. So that's bucket, scraper, dozer, and clamshell. The standard bucket position is used for stripping material, backfilling, or loading from a stockpile. Using the clam shovel in the standard bucket position, this, in slow motion, is how to load from a stockpile. Level and lower the shovel while travelling. Then place it on the ground about a metre from the stockpile and drive into it. Just before resistance makes the wheels lose traction, raise the shovel slightly and it will penetrate deeper into the stockpile. Keeping the power on, but still avoiding any wheel spin, fully crowd the shovel back. Always look behind before you reverse. Here's the same pass in real time. And just once more. By approaching the stockpile square on, the shovel fills across its width. Try to fill the shovel in one pass. Work like this should always be done in four-wheel drive, with the back actor locked and the stabilizers fully raised. Carry the load to the discharge point, keeping it low and looking in the direction of travel. Only raise the shovel close to the discharge point and just high enough to safely dump the load. When loading into dump trucks, it's up to the digger-loader operator to show the truck driver the right place to be. Once the truck is correctly positioned, dump the load into the skip. Look behind before reversing and lower the shovel as soon as it's clear of the truck. Then level it ready for the next load. Always try to work in a Y pattern, with the truck close to the stockpile to minimize traveling time. For maximum stability, always keep the load low while traveling. Then raise it as you approach the truck and dump it into the skip. Make sure that the truck is loaded evenly and never over its rated capacity. Indicate to the driver when it's safe to move the truck. The scraper position is used to remove thin layers of material, up to about 50 mm or 2 inches at a time. To set this type of bucket, first position the top parallel to the ground surface. Then use the indicator on the back of the shovel to set the approximate opening of the clamshell. This one is set to 5 cm, about the limit for layers removed in this way. When the machine is driven forwards, with the shovel on the ground, it acts like a wood plane. The cutting edge lifts the soil, while the clam section in front of it acts as a depth gauge, limiting the cut. When the shovel is full, close the clam section and crowd the shovel back before taking the load to the spoil heap. Because the shovel follows the contours of the ground, adjustments need to be made to the clamshell opening to allow for humps and dips. Make the opening larger over humps and smaller over depressions to maintain a level cut. The clamshell or grab position can be used to pick up things like trees or awkward pieces of concrete. With the clam open, lower the shovel directly over the object, then close the clam and raise the shovel. When the bucket is used like this, the grab teeth give extra grip. The clamshell is also particularly useful for picking up a remaining shovelful. Tilt the shovel forward and place the open clamshell on the ground behind the material. Reverse to pull the material into a tight heap. Then use the shovel in float position while setting the edges on the ground. Keep them on the ground while closing the clamshell and tilting the shovel back. Before using the back actor for normal trench work, the king post should be shifted about 300 mm off-centre to give the operator a clear view of the work. If the offset is more than this, the wheels may run over the trench markings. Stabilize and roughly level the machine as usual. Remove the locking pin and disengage the boom lock. After slewing the boom to the side of the machine, put the bucket teeth into the ground. Loosen the hydroclamps and use the boom and dipper to push the king post along its rails to the required position. For maximum stability, it should be on the side furthest away from where the excavated soil will be stockpiled. When the king post is in position, tighten the hydroclamps and fold the equipment before moving the machine into position on the trench line. Take care not to run over the marked line, and stop the machine about 3/4 of the reach of the back actor from the beginning of the trench. Level and lower the front bucket until the front wheels are off the ground. Then lower the stabilizers and roughly level the machine. Unfold the equipment and look along the line of the bottom of the bucket to check that the machine is level. Adjust it with the stabilizers if necessary. Before digging, the boom needs to be correctly aligned so that the trench will be dug along the marked line. Extend the equipment and position the center of the bucket over the line. Retract the equipment without slewing and see if the center of the bucket is still over the line. If it is, the machine is on line. If not, as in this case, place the bucket on the ground, slightly raise the machine and slew it in the direction required. Lower the machine and check the alignment again. Repeat this maneuver until the machine is on line. Once the machine is online, you can start digging. Excavate the soil in layers approximately 100 to 150 millimeters deep. This stops the sides of the trench from heaving up and keeps them firm. Where possible, try to swing across the machine when depositing soil. This keeps the machine as stable as possible and minimizes sinking into the ground. Always keep the excavated soil well away from the sides of the excavation. To make sure that no loading is put onto the sides of the trench, which may cause it to collapse, the spoil should be dumped at least as far away from the side of the excavation as the excavation is deep. Excavate the full length of the dig in layers until it's approximately 300 millimeters deep. Then clean the sides of the trench with the flat bottom of the bucket. This ensures that no material will fall back into the trench. When the desired depth has been achieved, clean the bottom of the trench using the flat bottom of the bucket. If the excavation is satisfactory, fold up the back actor and raise the stabilizers. Raise the front shovel and drive forward, keeping the machine online as best as you can. Don't move too far forward. Make sure that you can continue the trench easily from the new position. The right distance will depend on the depth of the trench. Stabilize and roughly level the machine as before. Use the bottom of the bucket again to check that the machine is level, adjusting with the stabilizers. Each time you move, you have to make sure that the machine is still correctly aligned with the trench. Extend the equipment and put the bucket in the center of the existing trench. Then retract the equipment and check that the center of the bucket stays over the marked line. Adjust the position of the machine if necessary. When you're sure that the machine is online, continue digging. Remember to excavate in layers of 100 to 150 millimeters. Use the same methods as you progress along the trench. Make a point of keeping the excavated material in a uniform line, because it will really help when the time comes for backfilling. If the spoil is to be loaded into a dumper or dump truck, the digger loader operator should position the collection vehicle by spotting with a loaded bucket. Make sure that the cab or seating position is kept out of the reach of the back actor. The law states that where dumpers have no falling object protection, the driver must dismount and stand clear. With the dumper or truck positioned like this, it's impossible to slew the bucket over the cab or seating area. Remember, all vehicles should be evenly loaded, not overloaded. Excavating for inspection chambers, or manholes, often forms part of trench work. The first step is to continue digging along the trench line about halfway into the area marked out for the inspection chamber. This work is carried out with the machine stabilized, leveled and aligned in exactly the same way as if the operator was simply continuing to dig a straight trench. At this stage, it's not necessary to clean the bottom of this section of the inspection chamber, because as the work continues, material will collapse into the area. Once the required depth has been reached, up to about halfway across the chamber, the equipment is folded up and the machine moved. The digger loader is stabilized and leveled as usual, but this time the king post is shifted right over to one side. The machine is then aligned not by using the center line and the center of the bucket, but by using the line which marks the side of the inspection chamber and the side of the bucket. Once this alignment is correct, the excavation can continue. When the soil has been removed to the required depth from that side of the inspection chamber, the king post is shifted right over to the opposite side. Then the machine is realigned, this time using the opposite side of both the bucket and the inspection chamber. The section is excavated until it's at the right depth. Then the king post is moved back and aligned with the original trench line. The trench is then continued out of the inspection chamber. Finally, any loose soil remaining in the excavation is removed and the bottom cleaned. A necessary part of digging foundations is the joining of two trenches. This is how not to do it. To prevent the trench corners from collapsing, a technique called back digging is used. The soil is pushed back down one of the trenches a little at a time, working in shallow layers. The loose spoil is then removed as necessary, taking care not to disturb the remaining soil. The process continues until the trenches are neatly joined together to the required depth. Where there's enough room, use the front shovel for backfilling. Travelling in first gear with the shovel flat and level, lower it to the ground to push the spoil. Just before the shovel reaches the edge of the excavation, raise it slightly and open the clamshell. Raise the shovel further and close the clamshell while reversing. Line up so that each pass is square to the excavation and takes only about 3/4 of the bucket width. This minimises the amount of soil which creeps round the side of the shovel. Always look behind you before reversing. This method of filling an excavation is known as bottom dumping. You can see why. Continue in this way until the required backfilling is completed. Then roughly level the ground using the scraper position. Follow that by running the wheels up the line of the trench to achieve a degree of compaction. Finally, grade to the surrounding area using the scraper position. When you park the machine for the night, choose a safe location, on firm, flat and level ground if possible. Make sure that the area around the machine is clear, then lower the front shovel to the ground. Extend the back actor out flat. This is a safe position which facilitates maintenance in the morning. Switch everything off, unless hazard or side lights are needed. Then remove the pressure in the hydraulic system by moving the controls. Make sure that all the windows are closed and locked. Climb down facing the machine using the hand and footholds provided. Both doors should be locked. Remember, if you don't release the hydraulic pressure, a child might.